Hey, welcome back. This is Jason at Shred Mentor Rock Guitar Academy, and today I'm going to teach you how to do squeals, or pinch harmonics. Okay, squeals are more the name that they're given depending on the way they're going to be used, but I'm going to show you how to use them today. Okay, now the sound I'm talking about is when you have, a lot of time it happens in riffing. Those high-pitched sounding squeals are just harmonics. I remember in the 90s they were referred to as artificial harmonics. It's kind of a bad name for them though, because there is no such thing as an artificial harmonic. All harmonics actually are just totally natural. So it's not really, if it was artificial you wouldn't hear it. But what we're talking about today is usually referred to as a pinch harmonic or squeal. And before I get into the technique on that, there's a couple things that I want to just cover right away, because really you don't want your gear working against you. So the first thing, make sure that you have enough distortion. A little bit more than usual will usually kind of keep things kind of messy, but it's going to make this a lot easier to do. So when you're first learning how to do this technique, crank up the distortion. You're definitely going to want it. In fact, if you also have some compression, go ahead and put that on as well. I recommend putting the compressor before the distortion because it kind of boosts the overall signal, so it'll make it a lot more sensitive. The amp and the way that it responds to your playing will be a lot more sensitive to the things that you do. Second, I recommend that you get some decent cables. Like I'm using Intex cables. It's like taking the pillow off of your tone. Okay, again, you don't want your gear working against you. Most normal cables, the cheap ones that you get when you go into the music store, cheap is cheap. They're not that good. Invest in some good cables. I really like Intex cables because it's like the amount of clarity that I get when I started using Intex is like it's immediately a lot more apparent what I'm doing. I can hear and feel what I'm doing through the way that the amp responds to my playing. Finally, get some high output pickups. If you can probably make do with whatever your guitar comes with, and a lot of stock pickups are pretty good. But something like DiMarzio's, Seymour Duncan's, EMG's, Bare Knuckles, one of your upgrade pickups. It's not just salesmanship. These are really better pickups. And make sure you get one that's fairly high output, because that'll make this kind of thing a lot easier to do. Okay, so now on to the technique. This is really a picking technique, and what's basically going on is that you use just a little tip of the pick, and you want your thumb to be positioned close enough to the tip of the pick so that you can just roll over onto it. And what's happening is basically when you pick your string, the thumb is hitting the string in the place where the harmonic happens immediately after the pick. So the string doesn't even have a chance to ring out at the original note because the thumb is sort of choking it at that one spot. Now, just like with any harmonic, you want to kind of get off the string after that. You don't want to just leave your thumb there, because then it's just going to choke the note out completely and you're not going to get anything worth listening to out of it. So that's the trick. You have to kind of know where the harmonic is supposed to be triggered from, and then you also have to sort of pick at that spot on the string. They're not everywhere. They're all over the place, yes, but depending on the note that you're fretting, its harmonics are in a relative position to it, okay? And that's actually why I'm using this guitar today. You may notice a surplus of frets. This guitar has 36 frets, and there's a reason I'm going to show you pinch harmonics using this guitar, because there's going to be some eyeballing it. You have to just kind of roughly guesstimate usually where the pinch harmonic that you want is going to be, and then find it through a little bit of careful experimentation in that range until you find the spot where it really is. Having all these extra frets means that at least for 12 frets worth, I don't even have to do any imagining whatsoever. I can just pick right over where the relative fret to my original note is. Okay, so in order to get into this, it's important to understand how harmonics work, okay? So this is a little bit about the physics of sound so that you understand where to find all of the harmonics that you'll ever want, okay? On the screen right now, this is a map of where the harmonics take place, the natural open string harmonics, on any given string between the open string and the 12th fret, okay? The reason we're going up to the 12th fret is because the 12th fret is the middle of the string, and harmonics are triggered at exact fractions of the string. Okay, so the 12th fret is exactly the middle. That's the 1/2 point. That's the easiest one to get, so if you haven't done harmonics at all before, go ahead and touch the string, unlike where we press down. Okay, I'm actually tuned to E flat, by the way, so it's going to sound about a half step off if you're tuned to standard. But basically, instead of pressing in the fret space, you want to touch the string rather than press it down, and only touch it. It should not come in contact with the fret whatsoever. You're just lightly touching it over where the fret is, pluck it, and then let go right away. Okay, original string. Okay, you got to take your finger off, because if you don't, you're going to get this. Your finger is bigger than the spot of the division point on the string. That spot is called a node, by the way, N-O-D-E. Okay, a node is that one little tiny, infinitely small spot on the string that is actually not vibrating. What it's doing is dividing the entire length of the string, in this case, into two equal length segments, 1/2 the length each, which are now, because it's 1/2 the length, they're actually vibrating at twice the speed. That's what an octave is twice the vibration rate. So if a note is going 1,000 vibrations per second, its octave, next octave higher, is 2,000. Okay, it's important that you understand the physics and the math behind this, because this is how they work. And so it doesn't matter if I want to, the open string harmonic is at the 12th fret. If I want to get that same harmonic on a 1st fret note, then I need to do a pinch harmonic over the 13th fret, or 1 fret higher. If I want to play the G, which normally the G would be an F sharp right now, the 3rd fret, you would have to actually pluck it 3 frets higher than the 12th fret. So it's 12 frets higher than the note you're going for in order to get exactly 1 octave higher. If I wanted to get 2 octaves higher, okay, well, the same thing as based on the open string. The 12th fret's 1 octave, and the 24th fret is 2 octaves. Okay, well, I can actually just do a pinch harmonic right over the 24th fret. Okay, and that's how that works. So, just like I did with the 13th fret and the 15th fret, if I press down 1 fret higher than the open string, then that location needs to go up 1 fret or 3 frets. So over the 25th fret, and then over the 27th fret. Alright, so you basically just have to kind of move with your pick up and down the scale as well. Okay, that's how you can actually use them to be melodic as well. Now, a lot of the time when we call them squeals, it doesn't really matter what key it's in. It's just supposed to just kind of poke out of the rhythm part. That's fine too. But once you understand how they're triggered, you actually have the option to stay within a key with them as well. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out as well. So all I did was, while playing the certain fret, I was up 24 frets higher, following the exact same dot pattern. Okay, now, see at the 12th fret, how the frets just keep getting smaller? Well, they keep getting smaller all the way up. And they keep gradually getting smaller. So once you get to the point where you run out of frets on your guitar, just kind of eyeball, where would it go if those frets just kept getting smaller and smaller? Because as you see, they do. They just keep getting smaller and smaller, even past the 24th fret, which is usually the max for almost all of the other guitars out there. They just keep getting smaller in the exact manner that you would expect. Now the thing is, without the actual frets being there, you don't have that as a guide, but this allows me to demonstrate how it would work, because this is where those frets would be. But without that, you just kind of look at your guitar, the specific guitar you're playing on at any given time. So if you have like a collection of guitars, each one of them is going to kind of have a slightly different visual look while you're looking down on it and playing. And needless to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, look at your picking hand when you're doing this so that you can memorize the spot. Okay, it could be a 1/4 inch from the screw on your pickup. It could be a little scratch. It could be a little part on the finish of your guitar. It doesn't matter. It just matters that you can remember where to find that harmonic again. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, I'm going to get more into the different fractions of the string so you can get more than just one note, but that's the basic idea, is that you're dealing with fractions of the string. So the 12th fret is going to be the halfway point, or 12 frets higher than the fretted note, that is going to be the halfway point of the remaining vibrating portion of the string. Now more than likely your guitar cuts off at 24 or maybe even 22, even 21 possibly. Doesn't matter if you want to get those notes, just imagine, just kind of eyeball it and figure out where your 24th fret would be, or whatever fret beyond that, and just keep kind of going. And there's going to be some experimentation. So if you're not sure, just very gradually work your way. Just keep picking all downstrokes so that your thumb hits it. Now this can also be done with the first finger, with upstrokes as well. You just have to position your pick in just such a way. You're really basing the position of the pick on the string as to where your thumb or your forefinger are going to hit the string, not really where the pick is. Okay, but either way, it can be done with downstrokes and upstrokes. All right, now here's the thing, okay? The 12th fret is the exact center of the string. So that's the middle. It's almost like a mirror image point for the other fractions. It's the 1/2 point right there. Okay, now the next easiest one is at the 7th fret. Again, right above the fret wire itself. Just touch and pluck. That's the note that we call the perfect fifth. But what this is actually 1/3 of the string. Right here, okay, from this spot to the nut is exactly 1/3 of the length of string. And what's happening is this section is ringing, and then the section to the 19th fret is also ringing, because actually the 19th fret has the same harmonic. What I'm really getting to here is to show you that aside from the 12th fret, every other harmonic happens in more than one place along the length of string, at every division point of whatever that fraction is. So if you have 3 sections of string, there's 2 points in between, 2 spaces that divide it. So there's going to be 2 locations for that harmonic. If you're dividing the string into 4 equal parts, there's going to be 3 specific spots. Now here's the thing, 1/4 is half of 1/2. So really, that's the 12th fret is really one of them. So by itself, it just triggers the 1 octave. But the 5th fret or the 24th fret are the double octave, okay? There's another one, just a little bit, if you have a dot in the middle of your 3rd fret, depends on the marker really, but basically I kind of divide that space of the 3rd fret. That's where you're no longer really over the fret wire anymore, because they're just so small. You kind of have to memorize the specific position. I always think of the triple octave harmonic to be kind of like the 2.4. Okay, so it's basically a little lower than the dot. Now there's also a 2.6, which is a different harmonic. Okay, it's a very, very delicate harmonic, so it's very hard to get it to ring out. The first string may not be the best option because as thin a string it is, it doesn't have a lot of projection power. But let's try it on a different string. Let's do, all of the strings have the harmonics in the exact same place because we're dealing with fractions. It doesn't matter what the original note is. It doesn't matter if your guitar is even in tune. The fractions of that particular pitch of whatever string you're dealing with are going to be located in the same exact position on the string. And the harmonics will be in harmony to that original open string note or the fretted note if you're raising the positions. But if you understand natural harmonics, that is open string harmonics, then you can just raise the position of where you're picking it, that number of frets. So if you're 5 frets higher, 7 frets higher, you move the position of where that harmonic would be that many frets higher. Okay, so it's a pretty simple process. This basically leaves you with 2 options for how you could memorize this stuff. One which is not very efficient at all, and one which is a lot more useful and allows you to kind of keep playing. I'm going to cover the inefficient way first because it's probably the way that you're thinking of right now, which is to go through and memorize every single harmonic like this, like a scholastic study, like a project. Don't bother. It's not going to be something that you're going to tap into and use. For the same reason that memorizing your fretboard that way doesn't tend to lead to really useful results. It's not that you won't learn it, but it's a much slower, less rewarding way of going about it. So rather than just memorize the exact spot of everything, the other way, one I would recommend, is learn the ones you need in the middle of playing actual melodies. You know, I've actually written a solo where I actually have 2 different pinch harmonics that are both on the same note. That is something that it's a manageable goal, and I can just memorize it for whatever guitar I'm playing that solo on. What are those 2 points? And it just never happens to be this guitar because the solo is written for a song that's for 7-string guitar. So this guitar is never used, so I never have the luxury of having these extra frets. I just memorize exactly just by eyeballing it, exactly where I can hit those frets so that I don't miss it, because the tinier ones are just, they're only in this one little spot. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. The specific note that you need the harmonics for is the one that you should just kind of find them. And really, there's a lot to be said for just pick a note and then start doing pinch harmonics in little tiny movements all along the string. Now, I'll remind you that even though I'm pressing the 10th fret, this operates as the new open string. The entire length of string is just from there to there. That's it. This might as well not even exist because it doesn't play a part in the fraction. Okay, the only part of the string that's working is from the part that touches the 10th fret to the bridge. So that entire scale of where the 12th fret and everything would be, it now moves to 12 frets higher than it, the 22nd fret. So, and then 12 frets higher than that, which would be the 34th fret. Okay. Now, you can see there's only room for one pickup on this guitar, but that is right about here, and a lot of the time the next pickup starts right about there. So it's somewhere in the midway, probably a little closer to your bridge pickup for that one. See if you can hit that one right now. Press your 10th fret of your second string, and just keep going along the string until you get to that. Now, if you're tuned to standard, it'll be this note. See if you can get that. Okay? Basically, you just do that with everything. You just find the particular one. Okay? So to review, have your thumb very close to the tip of the pick to begin with. Just pick like that, basically. This is actually why I use a very small teardrop pick. This is like the Dunlop Jazz 3, the Tortex kind, because I like the texture. None of that really matters. The size is just helpful for me because I find it comfortable. With a larger pick, I would just have more of the top of it sticking out the back, because the thing is, you only want a little bit of the pick sticking out so that you can roll your thumb right over and kind of interfere with the pick's contact with the string so that you hit the string right after the pick with your thumb as well. So again, you want to choke the string out from actually ringing at the original note. I've also always found it to be a little bit more difficult to trigger these on the lowest string on a guitar. So if I'm playing a 6th string, the 6th string is a little harder because the angle of all the inner strings means I have to go around that outer string. Whereas with this one, it's just a little bit tougher to get those notes. I never have a problem on the 6th string if I'm playing a 7 or 8 string though, because it's not the lowest string. So 7th string gives me the problem on a 7th string, and the 8th string gives me a problem on an 8th string. It's just about the angle. It's just a little bit tougher. So as with everything that gives you difficulty, you just haven't done it enough. So familiarity will make you good at anything. You're only a couple hundred to a couple thousand repetitions away from being good at anything you can imagine. Okay, and it might sound like a lot, but really think about how much time you spend repeating things when you practice. It's really not that much. Okay, so that's it for pinch harmonics. I hope that you take it and run with it. Try to throw a few of them into the next riff that you write. Until next time, rock on.